Hello and welcome to Brokerman Agent Training. In this video, we're going to be covering a few key sections of your system. From your pipeline, to creating and managing your transactions, your calendar, and your notifications. When you first get logged into the system, you'll be taken into your pipeline. This section shows you a 6-month overview of the transactions in your account. The first two buckets will show you your current listing and pending deals, followed by anything closed this month, and anything closed and canceled in the previous 5 months. As you click on each layer of the funnel, you're able to see exactly what's inside. So far this month, I've closed 2 transactions with a total net income of just over $22,000. We can see each individual deal and how they contribute to that total amount. By using this button in the top right corner, we can switch between our net income and our sales volume. Our financial numbers will update to reflect the new requirement. At any time, if I'd like to jump into one of these transactions, I can simply give the address here a click and the system will take me straight to it. Next up, we're going to be creating our transaction. To start, we'll click on Create Transaction, and if your brokerage is connected to a searchable MLS, we'll get the ability to search it here. As long as we have a partial property address, or more preferably a full MLS number, we can plug those in to search their database. For this video, we're going to be creating a transaction from scratch. Once we select Create New, we get a new pop-up with step 1 of creating a new deal. We'll start by entering in our transaction type. This list here is customizable by your brokerage, so your options may be a bit different than mine. Next, we'll set our status, whether it's listing or pending. In Brokerman, pending will be for any time we have a buyer. If we represent the buyer, we'll create the transaction as pending. If we represent the seller, we'll create it as a listing and switch it to pending once we've accepted an offer. We'll talk more about that once we get the deal created. Next, we'll start filling in our transaction details, like our address and our price. This is a listing, so we'll go ahead and input our listing date and our expiration date. At the bottom here, we have an additional bar for additional fields. Once we give that a click, we'll see all the customizable fields that our brokerage can manage as well. Again, your list may look a bit different than mine. Once we're done with our transaction details, we'll click Next and move on to step 2. Agents and commissions. This top portion here represents our total gross commission. By definition, this is how much is going to be available to both sides of the deal. If we know our listing side's getting 3% and our buy side gets 3%, that'd make our total gross here 6. Although, if you represent the buyer and you're not sure what the listing side's getting, it's perfectly fine to simply track this as 3, 0, and 3. Now that we have our commission percentages in, we'll hit select on the side we're representing. In this case, our brokerage is already chosen, so we'll simply hit save. And now we get a new option, Add Agent/Commission. We'll give that a click and we'll select Add Agent. And we're going to be adding our name here. We'll click Save, and now we can see we've been added to the commission page. This will ensure that the system's properly tracking that we're getting paid for this deal. We'll click Next, and step 3 is going to be our contacts. Once we click Add Contact, we'll select what the contact's role is going to be within our transaction. This list here is also customizable by the brokerage, so again, yours may look a bit different than mine. If we wanted to add our seller, we'll select Seller and start entering in their name. If they exist in the system already, we'll see them pop up in a drop-down list here, and if not, we'll simply click Create New to make a new card for them right here on the spot. The first time we go to create a contact, it will be marked as publicly available to everyone in our Brokerman account. We can switch this over to be private to just ourselves, and the system will remember our last chosen option. If we go to create a contact as private now, the next contact we create will default to be private. Once we've added on our contacts, we'll click Create, and now we have our transaction. Now that we've created the deal, we need to add on a checklist. This is going to be a list of tasks and documents that are going to be required from us prior to closing this out. The brokerage creates and controls your checklist, so again, your list may be a bit different than mine. We'll select which one's going to apply to this particular deal, in this case, our listing checklist. If your checklist is attempting to pull over a few dates, that is because some of our tasks are going to be based due date-wise on these. If it's asking us for a name, that is because some of these tasks are going to be their responsibility to complete instead of our own. We'll enter in the name of the individuals who's going to be taking care of these, and we'll click Add. From our checklist, we can see all of our currently due tasks, due dates on the left, followed by who they're due from, and then whether they require a document or not. Tasks that do not require documents, we can simply check off to mark them as complete. If we do need to upload a file, there are 3 ways to do so in Brokerman. We can start by clicking Upload, finding the document that needs to be placed into that section, and clicking Open. Once the document is uploaded, we get the new status, as well as a preview of the document itself. The second way of uploading documents into Brokerman is by opening up the folder where we keep our documents saved. We can select as many as we need for this particular transaction, and drag and drop the entire group directly to our browser. Once the system's done processing and uploading these, they're all going to be placed in a section called the Unsorted Documents folder. Once we click Close, the system will take us straight there. Before we begin with managing these, there's still one more way to upload files, and that's going to be by adding via email. Each transaction you create in the system comes with its own unique email address. You can copy this and CC it on any correspondence. Emails that come into that address will be tracked in your activity log, which essentially serves as an audit trail for each event that happens within the transaction. Each event also comes with its own subcategory, so we can view specific events. Any documents that are attached to that email will flow straight into our Unsorted section. From here, we can e-sign a document, download it directly to our computer, email it out as a general attachment. We can rename or delete any files, and if we need, we can also combine multiple documents together to create a single file. Once we select Merge, we'll click Add Document and select each additional file we need to combine. We'll give it a new name and click Merge. The system will combine everything together into that single document while leaving the originals in place for compliancy. We can go the other way around as well. If we have a document that contains multiple files that we need to split up, we'll simply click Edit Split, and we'll start by saying that pages 1 through 3 are going to be an item from our checklist. Once we start typing into the document name field, any items that are still open requiring a document that match what we're typing will appear. The more we type, the more we narrow down that list. I can say that page 4 is going to be a survey. I can see here I do not have any tasks that currently match that name, so we'll go ahead and create a brand new one just for this document. Once we click New, we'll simply click Save. Lastly, we'll say that pages 5 through 7 are going to simply be miscellaneous documents. Items I don't necessarily need to send to my admins for review, but would like to keep track of them within my transaction. Simply clicking out of the box, I can see these documents will go straight into my Unsorted. Once I'm done, I'll click Split, and the system will start breaking this file up. Here's the 3 pages we broke off and called miscellaneous, while the system left our original document in place. As we check our document section, we can see the listing agreement we pushed over and the survey task we just created. For the rest of our documents, to remove them from the unsorted and assign them to the checklist, we'll click Assign To and select the task that that document needs to be attached to. Once we have a few documents assigned, we can see all of our statuses now say uploaded. If we realize we uploaded the wrong document to a task by mistake, we have a couple of options. We can either unassign the document, which will remove it from the task and place it back into our unsorted section. Or of course, we can simply delete the entire document. If we happen to delete a file by mistake, our activity log really does keep track of everything that happens within the transaction and also provides us an archived link of any files we've uploaded. We can simply give that link there a click and download a brand new copy of that file directly to our computer and re-upload it back into the transaction if we need. For any files that we may not need, we can simply hit Exempt, and it's always good to leave a comment behind to let the admin know why we do not need this file. For the rest of our uploaded docs, we now need to submit these to an admin for approval. We can do so by selecting an individual task and clicking Submit, or by coming up to Action and clicking Submit for review. This will submit all of our currently uploaded documents at once. Once an admin has taken the time to review these, they will either come back approved or rejected. Any items that come back rejected, the entire task will turn bright red to let you know something's wrong here, and the system will require the admin to leave us a comment behind letting us know why they rejected it. As we continue along with our process and we finally do accept an offer from a buyer, we'll come up to Edit and we'll switch our transaction to Pending. When we do so, the system's going to ask us who represents the buyer, whether it's our own brokerage or another contact we need to enter. Depending on your brokerage's requirements, you may have some additional fields that become necessary to finish the switch. Once we've completed that, we can see our transaction is officially pending, and if we were to go back and check our pipeline, we'd also see it has moved out of the listing funnel into the pending funnel. As we continue along with the rest of our process, depending on your brokerage's permissions, you may have the ability to close the transaction. When you select Close, it'll let you know that it's going to calculate and finalize the commissions. It'll generate a transaction archive. It'll notify all participants via email. These are only other agents attached to the transaction. Brokerment will not send notifications out to your clients. It'll update the activity log. And if you have not preset a closing date, it'll let you know that a new closing date will be set. Once you're ready, you'll click Confirm. And again, depending on your permissions with the brokerage, you may run into this error here, letting you know that the transaction is not fully approved by a broker. This simply means that all of your transaction files must be uploaded and approved prior to closing. If you do not have the ability to close the transaction, simply reach out to one of your office admins and they'll take care of that portion of the process for you. Well, let's take a step back for a moment and take a look at our calendar. Our calendar will show us all of our open tasks across all of our active transactions. All items will show up in due date order, with everything that's past due at the top, followed by anything possibly due today, this week, next week, down to items that have no due dates. For any of these tasks that do not require a document, we can check them off directly from the calendar, and they will mark themselves as complete back on the transaction. If a document is required, we can upload that to the calendar as well. And once again, it'll disappear and mark itself as complete back on the transaction. Next up, I'd like to talk about our notifications. These are all email notifications that the system will send out once certain triggers have been met. The left column tells us the notification type, followed by its frequency, whether it's a daily summary email that comes out once a day, or if it's an immediate notification that comes out as soon as that trigger is met. You can turn any of these on or off however you see fit. If you're not entirely sure what would trigger one of these notifications, like the My Task Changed for example, simply give it a click, and the top right corner will give you a brief description of its triggers. As you begin using your account, if you do have any questions that arise, no matter where you are in the system, this Need Help button will always be in the bottom right corner. For the fastest response times, you can utilize the online chat. For more of the Learn on Your Own type, you can utilize the User Guide section. For example, if you're looking for a quick reminder on how to split and merge documents, you can simply type in split and open up the corresponding article. Lots of our articles will contain screenshots and walkthrough videos as well. Furthermore, within your Brokerment system, if you ever see one of these yellow circles with the question mark, you can simply give that a click and it will open up a corresponding user guide article. From my notifications section, I get an article on notifications. And from my transaction page, I instead get an article on how to create a transaction. Thank you for taking the time to view this video. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to utilize the online chat, the user guides, or of course by reaching out to your office admins for assistance.